So, hello, everybody. Of course, many of you see me every week here. My name is Joyce Betancourt in the physical world, and Rhiannon Chatnoir, which, yes, to Ellie's point, it melds like a Celtic Gaelic word with a French word, and is very hard to pronounce often. Um, so, a little background first about me, and then kind of about the broader sort of Avicon and the work that's happening there. So, um, my background is as a designer, so graphic and web design. I worked for many years in a corporate kind of space, and then also I actually worked as a media librarian, funny enough, librarian, at a like librarian assistant at a community college for many years before that. And I came to Second Life in 2005, January of 2005, in fact. And from there, like the things that hooked me very much were the community pieces and the events, and then also kind of the collaborative, creative part of Second Life in and of itself. Often, creative pursuits and art in general are very solitary sort of thing. So it was very nice to be able to create amongst groups, and I think that's again what melded me to community, which is kind of a important thread throughout this whole journey. Um, so by like a year later or so into being in Second Life, my world started to merge. I started to volunteer, and then ended up for a nonprofit in New York City called Global Kids that was here in World. I met them in World at the time, and and they were working on education and how to combine that with things like digital media tools like games, virtual worlds, things like that. And then that slowly turned into a need for them to be able to uh, kind of tell the world about the work that they were doing in these spaces, and especially they were working on youth-related stuff. And at the time, there was a teen grid, which was very locked down, so you couldn't exactly have your funders come in and look at your things or your projects and stuff going on. So they kind of pinged me to be like to help them with that part of it, set up a group web blog, be able to get people, like the teens writing and editing, be able to like kind of go in world and do some of these media things we're talking about for to support the programs that they were running in the virtual world. And and then by about 2007, they were getting additional funding from the MacArthur Foundation and offered me to be able to come work for them full time, and which I did, though again was sort of this lovely hybrid model where I still lived in Massachusetts, where I live, and would come into New York City for like a few days or a week a month, take the train, and then kind of come back, but would always be working side by side. We're working remotely, doing meetings through Skype, lots of things that we're very familiar with now, of course. Um, and then that then kind of was the foundation of it, and how I then also came to know and collaborate with things like Nonprofit Commons here. Global Kids did a lot of projects that kind of combined what Nonprofit Commons was doing, some events and things like that we'd collaborate with. And at the same time, as I said, community was very important. So I started to volunteer at the Second Life Community Convention, which was happening, bringing together Second Life users in person at various events. And those actually started up in 2006, first in New York City at the State of Play kind of law and future conference. And then, went on to many other cities, Chicago, San Francisco, Tampa, and back to San Francisco. So went on for many years like that, and I used my design skills to kind of help them out there, and then also helped with some of the community related things. And it came a point when the org and the group kind of running those was sort of deciding to step away, and myself and a few others didn't really want to see that important kind of community coming together just disappear. So we decided, well, let's start a nonprofit. Let's we'll pit to hopes to pick up the Second Life Community Convention to continue to bring people together, and then also with the broader mission of kind of supporting users in these virtual spaces, because often, especially a lot of folks who are educators or nonprofits doing or business or doing projects. We're exploring multiple places and environments, not just Second Life, but integrating games or other virtual environments and stuff like that. So we founded in 2010 and did that first Second Life Community Convention. Well, the planning started before then, but we founded officially by 2010, and did the first Second Life Community Convention that Avacon organized in that year, and that was in Boston, and they were very much hybrid. We were both in world here and in Second Life with hundreds of people in both places, and even some interactive uh, events happening and panels happening where there are people in both spaces at once. And then again, we did that again in 2011 at in Oakland. And then, yes, absolutely, I would love to do that again too. So we did that in 2011 as well in Oakland, and then things shifted on focus for both Linden Lab and then us as well. And again, we always had this broader mission, and that mission specifically for Avacon was that we were dedicated to promoting the development and the users and the community within these virtual immersive spaces. Of course, more broadly known as the metaverse, which has now become a much more talked about thing. But we had that term as part of our incorporation for our 501c3 and the term metaverse right in our documents, our founding documents. And it was funny, one of the few questions the IRS asked us back in 2010 was, what is the metaverse? Of which we had to respond back to. So Avacon has continued on in that fashion of kind of promoting educational, scientific inquiry into these spaces, and again supporting those communities and then the activities that they might take part in, and that runs the gamut from performance, lectures, art, music, machinima, for educational, nonprofit communities. And so our goal is really to connect and support all of those diverse communities and the practitioners that are involved in kind of creating and working and doing things in the metaverse. And that through the years is kind of taken on by we've organized many other events. We started to organize in 2013 the Open Simulator Community Convention Conference. Sorry, and that was we saw a similar need for the community and the developers to come together and talk and share, and that continues on obviously to this day. We are on our ninth year that we just are coming that will be coming up. So, and then we've also held other events like the Federal Consortium of Virtual Worlds workshop. We've held other educational seminars. We have the even in the OSCC grid, we have the community spaces that exist there. Avacon, we also have our own grid and open simulator, and we have free office space there and support programs that come in, many of them educational or other social good, or kind of crossover where there might be youth organizational development and educational projects. Including even, during the first year of the pandemic, we hosted a virtual prom for a high school in Florida that could not get their kids together to be able to have those sort of ceremonies that they were used to. So, and here, many of you know, of course, for Nonprofit Commons, that Avacon, when TechSoup sort of changed over from sort of sponsoring and running Nonprofit Commons, that Avacon sort of stepped up and started to work with all of you here that were part of the community, and sort of start to organize it as a peer-governed thing, while Avacon continues to support it financially and with tech and kind of technical support stuff. And so
Yeah,
through there,
Avacon.
what were you going to say?
Thank you. I was just going to support you in that. Avacon is really amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Yeah.
Have
So, oh,
sorry.
oh,
Go
um,
ahead.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So in essence, we could continue to that down that mission of sort of supporting users in that, and nonprofit commons is another important thing that we do. Of which the home meetings that we have here weekly on Fridays is one piece of it, and then all the free office space, the events that happen, many of the things that the others like Zinnia and Corin and others, those events we hold, and then also the collective supporting of others in this, collaborating with others in this space, like ah, with others in the space, including folks like VWBPE, Rockcliffe, and my Alexa is going off, sorry. And others. But that's kind of it in a summary. You can obviously go to avacon.org to find out more. And I encourage you all to also kind of take part in really um, supporting these greater virtual world immersive communities that we all kind of, that are all useful in important ways for us to kind of further our work and just kind of get our kind of footing and space here in these environments and do social good ultimately. So that's it for me. Thank you.